Where are we heading next? Oh, we are heading to Zay Flowers out of nowhere, hyping up first round rookie safety out of Georgia, Malachi Starks. So while we were out during the hiatus of our show, Zay Flowers, he was doing some workouts, what I assume is in Florida. And then he just decides to talk into the camera and say, hey, I've gotten a look at Malachi. We did OTAs, we did mandatory minicamp, and he started gassing up his new teammate.
I like that. You gonna see? Just chill. Wait till little bro lock in. Yeah, he like that. Once he catch that game speed in real life, I mean, shit, we done. Feel me? He already caught up for real.
Oh, he's already caught up. So at first he's like, hey,
Yeah.
once he catches that game speed, referring to the obvious transition, the elephant in the room from collegiate to professional. But then he's like, nah, he's already. What did he say at the end there?
Here, let me play it again for you.
Yeah.
He says he already caught up.
Okay. All right.
He already caught up for real.
All right.
Yeah, the audio is a little bit lower, but he said Malachi is like that. You're gonna see. Wait. Just wait. Lock in. Little bro is gonna lock in. Yeah, he like that. Once he catches up, I mean, shoot. He's already up. He's already caught up for real.
Well, let me tell you a side note.
On that.
Zay's physique is absurd. He's 0% body, -1% body fat. I mean, come on. He looks like he's ready to go.
He's born ready to go.
Yeah,
for sure.
But the big takeaway here, building up your guy as you suspect, two young guys. Zay, a third-year player, just changed his representation, so knows that if he puts forth another big season, another 1,000-yard receiving season, that the Ravens could be paying him handsomely a year from now. And then the Rook, who all of a sudden, with Malachi, as any first-rounder would, it garners a lot of attention. But then Ardarius, who comes in, admirably last year after some benchings and some cuts and everything that we watched play out throughout that treacherous beginning of the season when it comes to the Baltimore pass defense. All of a sudden, it's like, all right, you're the guy now, dude. And I'm certainly expecting some rookie moments, Sarah, and
yeah,
a buffer period, if you will, to kind of get himself acclimated, understand the terminology, get caught up with true NFL speed, like Zay's sort of referencing here in this clip. But man, there are a lot of people that are already writing this guy in as a shoo-in, making it comfortable to say things like Emmanuel Acho did, or maybe it was Shady on that same clip, that he feels like the safety tandem that is Kyle and Malachi is the top in the league. Not sure if I'm there yet because we haven't watched. Malachi's like a paper champion right now,
for sure.
And so,
but Zay's bringing him off the paper a little bit, right?
Maybe.
We're not in the season yet. We haven't even had a preseason game, but I think that that's what Zay's kind of doing here. This isn't Zay at a press conference and reporters are asking about the new additions to the team and you have to toe the company line. Okay. This is Zay out doing a workout in the middle of the summer away from the Ravens, had no reason to bring up Malachi Starks other than he believes in him.
Sure.
Right? This was not like, a reporter put a microphone in my face and I had to say something nice. That's not what this is. So after watching him and Malachi, what's good for him is he's got all sorts of guys he's got to defend against in practice. In fact, if I recall correctly, when he was at podium, he was asked who the toughest is to guard. He took a second to think and he's like, oh, for sure, Isaiah Likely. He's faster than what he looks on TV. Obviously, that speed with a big body is going to be tough to do. So he's got these tight ends he has to contend with, and then he's got a speedster in just like this guy, this jitterbug in Zay that he's got to cover. Then he's got Rashad Bateman. We know who he is, and now he's got DeAndre Hopkins. So he's got almost everything that you could throw at him between big bodies, smooth route running, or just this jitterbug in Zay. He's got everything, and so Zay seeing Malachi, that holds weight with me. right? That holds weight. And so the question is, to me, kind of going forward, is how will they use him? Because to your point, he's going to have rookie moments. And so I was reading over at Russell Street Report from Nikhil Mehta. I'm hoping I'm saying his name right, but he was out there at practice and he was talking about what the projection would be of how they use him. And I really liked what he was talking about, how obviously if Ardarius Washington was still healthy, the Ravens could slowly kind of bring him along with the very narrowed role and then expand from there. But the Ravens don't have that luxury anymore. And so coming into the league, everybody talked about Malachi Stark's versatility. I think it's the versatility that we're going to have to wait on a little bit. Like, give him smaller roles to start. And that's what they were saying here on Russell Street Report. He said he will partner with Hamilton as a starting safety with plenty of too high looks based on Zach Orr's comments when asked about his vision for his safeties. Here's Orr, quote, I think that it could change week by week, but I think the vision ultimately is be ball hawks and be ball control back there. Great communicators, great leaders, get us in and out of the right calls, nothing over our heads, and then make plays back there. So I don't know how much they're going to be able to play this positionless football until they know for a fact that Malachi's there. But to Zay's point, he's like, oh, once he locks in, but he's like, wait, he kind of already is locked in because that's what Malachi is known for. On top of what he can do on the field, it's mostly like this guy's another coach. And so that's when players usually break out, is once they can see the game. And if Malachi can put that into hyperdrive, they can transition more quickly from, hey, we're just going to keep you in a free safety, don't let anything get over your head, to becoming more interchangeable inside that secondary and playing more with these chess pieces of him and Kyle Hamilton and others.
You definitely got to wonder where Malachi is at this point, like a couple weeks out. Well, actually, days out from reporting. It's the 15th for rookies. And you wonder where he is in the terminology side of things, because this is a player that, has a ton of high leverage experience reps under his belt. I think that's what the Ravens loved about the guy, is that his floor was coming in really high, given the magnitude of all the moments that he experienced while at Georgia, and a championship, by the way, to boot. But this is an NFL defense, and there's a lot of sophisticated nuance and wrinkles to Zach Orr's scheme. And so where is he with the terminology, and how much of that terminology will still be being learned on the fly come training camp? I wonder. We won't know. We may never know. But if he starts having sort of an imperfect training camp, you got to wonder if that's sort of that multitask, drinking from the fire hose experience that he's going to have to endure, given that Ardarius is this is his show. This is your opportunity to go show that you can be Kyle's running mate. And given Kyle's stature, there's going to be a lot that just his sheer presence alone as his running mate will hide and cover up, right, of Malachi's. But at the end of the day, he's going to have to be ready to go when the sparks are flying.
Well, speaking of drinking from a fire hose, we know he's been doing that since the moment he came on campus. And I just want to revisit what John Harbaugh said and how basically Malachi has not made any mistakes, which is crazy given that he was brand new, and rookies for sure, even first rounders, usually make mistakes.
Stand out to that exemplary level.
Well, one example, I think it's been reported, he was organizing walkthroughs at the hotel for the rookies, pretty much the whole camp. I think that's pretty cool, and he's always on point. He can answer any question, in a meeting, we may be back there and say, hey, all right, Malachi, and you throw a situation at him, and he knows, he's been studying, comes prepared, and I'm sure he's made a mistake or two, maybe with some minor leverage things, but I've never seen him make a real mistake yet. He's very, very much a pro, probably
very much a pro.
That's the thing, right? Like, that's what I meant by the reference of the high ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Malachi is going to be this perennial all-pro player for the next 10 years. But what I do know, based on the study, since they called his name, is that he's coming in with this expertise as a professional that you would think makes his transition a little bit more seamless than somebody that is coming in newly minted, if you will, maybe from a smaller school or less experience and not as many reps as he's had with Kirby Smart and really the professional program that they run there. A lot of these SEC schools, let's face it, they're like amateur NFL teams. And so I think that's probably what he's referencing there.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Well, and the thing is what Zay's saying and what Harbaugh's saying, the Ravens need him to come to fruition because for sure the biggest weakness last year was the pass defense until they were finally able to kind of like MacGyver it and like
MacGyver. Wow.
Yeah, MacGyver it by moving all these different pieces and make it much more respectable. In fact, I think it was one of the best at the end of the year from weeks 11 on. So they need it to come to fruition. And I think the PFF rankings of the secondaries is giving the Ravens a lot of credit for what they've done because even though the pass defense was much better the last 10 weeks of the season, it still ended like number 31 in pass yards given up. And so to go into this year where PFF is ranking the Ravens as number 1 for the audio only, here's their top 5 secondaries in the NFL.
Whew.
Ravens, number 1, Chiefs, number 2, Broncos, number 3, Texans, number 4, and Patriots, number 5. I mean, that's given a lot of love to what's on paper after what they did last year. 31 in passing yards allowed by the end of the year.
That is, if that's not the best testament to what PFF feels like the Ravens have in Malachi, I'm not sure what is. Oh, man. Granted,
I mean, obviously Jair is added, so they're feeling good about that.
Right. Yeah. This probably is more so about that addition. Maybe that allowed them to leapfrog the Kansas Cities and the Denvers of the world because both of their secondaries are certainly nothing to overlook. But wow. And having a player like Kyle, the perennial Pro Bowler that he's turned himself into, perennial All-Pro, really, in such a short amount of time since being drafted in 2022, I think is a big part. They have star power coupled with, veteran former stars. Maybe Marlon will have something to say about that if he continues to put forth a season the way that he did a year ago. Jair, a former star, maybe still is. And then you got the youth as well. There's a slew of youth that's going to have something to say about what they have at corner. So high praise right
I definitely put him top 3. But I feel like I want to get into the season before I can give him number 1. And obviously they're giving a lot of love to Kyle Hamilton here. I mean, he's the graphic. He's the image in the graphic to represent this whole thing that PFF is using. But Kyle Hamilton was also on last year's team that was number 31 in passing yards. So I think it's given a lot of love. Well, and it's not even just the player acquisitions, which obviously is very important. But to me, what I actually feel better about is the returning of all the coaches. Because you were starting, with a brand new coordinator. He was in his first year. He definitely found his footing later on. And you've also added Chuck Pagano over the offseason. And, Pease is returning.
Don't forget, too, you plucked Donald DeLisio from Kansas City.
Oh,
He's a renowned assistant in the secondary. So, the Chiefs have had a lot of success with him. You suspect that that's going to continue under his tutelage in Baltimore. And then, like you mentioned, the headliners, though, are the OGs, right, with Chuck and Dean, and then the young gun, the youngest DC around in Zach Orr. So I don't know if I have no idea whether or not like the staff was in consideration when making that top 10 list, Sarah, but certainly they deserve a mention in that.
Yeah. Somebody said I don't blame Kyle for last year's secondary. Neither do I. I definitely wasn't saying that. But as good as he is, they still were 31 was more my point. But Bobby, here are the AP Defensive Rookie of the Year odds. Because we're talking about Malachi, I brought it up. He used to be number 14 before Ardarius Washington's injury. He moved up to number 10 on the list, which is not great chances, but we'll see what happens. But it's the Ravens' other rookie who's higher up on this list. Mike Green comes in at number 7 in terms of the odds. So we'll see what happens when the season starts. These things will be shuffled for sure.
Mike remains unsigned, huh?
He does.
Interesting. The lone Ravens rookie?
He's the only one.
But not
But
the
he's
lone
still
second
practicing, so
rounder.
it's not getting the attention that Shamar Stewart has gotten in Cincinnati because Mike Green is still practicing.
And also not the lone second rounder around the league, I believe.
Yeah, he's one of 30 as of June 28th anyway. He's one of 30 second round picks still unsigned.
Okay. All right. Something to watch. Which we will, of course.
Here, let me just read this from Adam Schefter because he had this tweet. He said, again, this is from June. This is June 27th. Heading into the weekend and less than a month from training camp, only 2 of the NFL's 32 second-round draft picks have been signed. Deals are stalled over whether or not contracts will be fully guaranteed. Here we go again, fully guaranteed. This is the forever battle.
Yeah.
And Lamar was in the thick of it. I went over this when you were out, the collusion case.
Yeah.
Bobby, you know how that was 61 pages?
Yeah.
The collusion case. I
Yeah.
probably read like 40
Oh,
pages of it and skimmed the other
God bless you.
15 or so. I feel like I'm caught up to speed on that.
I bet.
Anyway, says deals are stalled over whether or not contracts will be fully guaranteed. The only 2 2025 second round picks now signed are Cleveland's Carson Schwessinger and Houston's Jaden Higgins.
All right.
So
those numbers should make you sleep well at night then if you're somebody that's worrying about this, right?
yeah, that it's not like a Mike Green and Ravens thing. This is a second round thing. So we'll see. Once 1 or 2 fall, all the rest will follow. Somebody's going to have to blink.
Yeah. And we'll be watching it leading up to training camp. Just a few days out from that getting kickstarted.